Okay, we are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome. It is 12:01. I had a little bit of technical difficulty, but now we're live. Welcome to today's live episode of my regular podcast, Think Out Loud with me. Today's plan is different because I'm in the mood to be different. Today's plan is a raw, real, and relatively unscripted conversation about doing business with spirit as your managing partner. I wanted to host this conversation in real time because Laura asked me before we came on, like, what are we trying to do here? There's a massive shift of energy happening right now. And over the last several months, I've been in rooms with founders and startups and business owners who have been in business for many years, folks just starting out and wondering how to get going. And I've heard word bubbles just surround me. I don't know if now's the right time. I don't know if I'm going to fit into this entire scheme. I can't understand anything anybody's doing anymore. I'm not going to be able to market like they want me to. Just there's a litany of all of this overwhelm from all of these beautiful humans who are inspired to bring more of themselves to the world, which is exactly what we need right now, right? So then there's a few of us a couple steps ahead, which I love. And there's folks that are realizing they won't do business the old way anymore. The grind, the constant pressure, right? And it's a shift that can be seen and heard, and is a very distinct redirect of your energy. It feels out of sync if you're not in that energy with who you are and what you came here to do. There's proof that these ways work. Today's panelists are living proof that you can get behind a business that starts from your heart and you can grow and be as big and badass as the stars in the universe around us. I've invited three beautiful humans because they've leaned into trust and are seeing value come back to them in ways that they never expected doing what they do. They're passing this extraordinary return on their energy to through their work with others. And this isn't just small work. This is big work, right? As Laura says, big potatoes work. So let's dig in. Enough from me. Laura, I'd love to start with you. I'd love everyone to introduce themselves to the listeners, but I'm going to throw this your way first and just go broad. We've got folks listening in, and if you could introduce yourself with just a couple sentences and then tell us, what does it mean to you to let spirit have such an influence in your business?
Laura DeFranco is my name, and brave healing is my game. And I am a poet, among other things. But publishing for holistic health and wellness professionals is the day, night, and everywhere in between job that I love, that I started from this passion place. And I think, oh my gosh, I mean, it's a simple answer to your question. Being able to live like that is bliss. I mean, and it's hard. It's right. And so like every day I have to wake up and reignite the purpose and remind myself of how I'm doing this, because it's so easy to get sucked into the black hole of all the things that you think you should, oh, there's the S word, be doing.
Mhm.
But I love it as much as I did on day one. Today, almost not, I guess we're 9 years later. And I love it. And I want to encourage people at whatever stage they are to start a business that brings you bliss from the get-go, and don't give up on that. This is such a juicy topic. Thank you for inviting me today.
Yeah, you bet. I feel like yeah, you've got incredible perspective just from the role that you play with folks trying to bring their magic to the world. I want to kick it across my screen that way. Irene, come off mute and say hi to everybody and introduce yourself and tell me thoughts about what it means to you to let spirit have such a big say in what you do with your business.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to dive into this conversation. I'm Irene. My passion, some might say obsession, but such a fine line, is human design. And I work with visionary coaches and healers to use human design to leverage in their life and business. I'm also an EFT practitioner, so we kind of roll all of that energy stuff in to really get to who you came here to be, who you are designed to be, because how you build your business can be very different based on things in your design. And so helping people to understand that frees them up. It gives permission. It creates almost like a validation of what people know in their soul, but it's just someone telling them like that's true for them. And so when I think of spirit leading, I don't have to figure it out on my own. Like I don't have to try to control, everything, which I still do, don't get me wrong, but I can continue to be reminded that every time I have chosen to trust and surrender, I have been guided in beautiful directions. I have connected with amazing women. I have had, invitations come in. It's when all of the things kind of just the synchronicities happen and I'm not out there trying to push and force into existence what I want or what I think I want. And I can take action from a place of surrender and self-trust. And that for me is so freeing that creates that sense of bliss, right? Because I'm not trying to control everything. I'm not trying to figure it all out because I could never, one, figure out the divine plan, or two, have ideas that are limitless. My mind is not limitless like spirit. So I can allow those ideas to come to me. There's been so many times I'll be on a walk, I have this idea, and I'm just like, okay, okay. And as I'm walking, I'm like, yes, that's perfect. That's exactly what I needed. And I can just roll with it to the next thing.
I love it. I've got my little notebook out and I'm taking mad notes. You can probably hear me scratching in the microphone. I'm going to shift the question just slightly. Chikanma, come off mute.
Hi, everyone.
Say hi to everybody. And I'm going to shift it slightly. When you start with who I am instead of what's my offer, what happens? And tell us who you are first, and then I want you to noodle on that because you're in a very unique place to have that perspective.
Yeah. So I'm Chikanma, founder of 𝐒𝐲. I'm a productivity coach to help people take a human-centered approach to boost their productivity, eliminate burnout, and get into their next level flow. And so when you take a more you-centered approach versus, an offer approach, it starts with creating an offer that's more organic. You as a person encounter the problems that your clients are experiencing as well. And by you going through the journey of, in my case, anti-burnout productivity, you've collected nuggets. And along that way, if you document it, if you have a journal like me who has like 5,000 journals, you're able to document and take a more systemized approach as you take this journey to boosting your productivity, eliminating burnout, or whatever your industry or your offer is, versus having the offer kind of lacks soul. It kind of lacks that human approach. It lacks that organic, sauce to it. Because if you, I think it's almost like doing things in community versus doing things isolation, right? We know scientifically you get better results by working in groups versus working alone. Now maybe not all of us, but we all love working alone. Like just like put everyone away, let me go into my little dark room, my dark cave, and let me hammer this out, right? But when you don't encounter other people and like bounce things off and like have that back and forth, you're not sharpening your knife, you're not sharpening your tools. And so you end up with this offer, right, that you spent like 3 weeks on, 4 weeks on, you've been ruminating on it for a year, sometimes more, and it kind of flops, right? Because it didn't really tackle a problem that a human had. When you take a you-centered approach, and you being the founder, you being the entrepreneur, the creative, you're able to create an offer and solution that actually works for people because you're one of those people. And now it's about, instead of marketing of like, here's why this is the answer to your problems, you talk about your journey in your marketing. You talk about, here's how I discovered this. You talk about your story, and it becomes it just gets 10 times easier
Right.
to talk about your product, talk about your journey, and talk about what you do.
What's interesting to me about what all of you have said is that we're still using words, strategy, structure, systems, process, right?
Yeah.
We are, but our starting point is very different. Our starting point is this lens that we lay across everything. It's this, Irene uses the word a surrender. There's places where we spend more time figuring out what our lens is so that we can then go forward and lay that across all of the experiences coming at us. It's an energetic lens. It's a, we'll call it a boundary. There's a word, like there's just a very aligned approach to then what you're going to strategize from, and a place to, once you get way far out there and say, you know what, this just doesn't feel right. I think I need to go back to, where's my square one? You always have a place to return to, right? You get willy-nilly and things are off kilter and you're attracting things that are like, where is the spam coming from? Why is this not resonating with anyone? I'm out of alignment. It's not that I suck. It's not that I don't know what I'm doing. It's not that we're coming from a different place where my body is in alignment with the offering that I'm giving you. And I've taken time to figure out my sweet magic in it before I've released it to the world. I want to know, we'll start with Irene in the middle. What happened for you personally? What helped you differentiate between who you thought you had to be and who you actually are as a businesswoman, as a business owner, as a leader, as a teacher?
For me, it was human design is what brought me back to me and to understanding me and to working with who I am and what alignment was for me and what authenticity looked like, and to kind of disconnect from all of the pieces because it's all energy. Understanding this, I could understand like my whole childhood suddenly like opened up, like a veil was over it. I'm like, oh right, this is why mom did this, or this is why dad did this, and kind of understanding those things, that it was never me. As we say in human design, right, like our purpose, and I think this goes to what Chikanma was saying about like your offer, is we externalize so much, like I'm searching for something, like what do I do, what's my purpose, what do I do, which is like us searching for that thing, creating it externally, which what if our purpose isn't anything we can do, it's who we be. And our purpose as humans is to be in alignment, to be the highest expression, the fullest expression of who we came here to be. And then from that place, we go out in the world and do our work. And so for me, finding that came through human design. Like that was the final kind of puzzle piece. I had done a ton of coaching work. I had done EFT. I had done all of those things. But to come to this energetic blueprint, it just made everything click and make sense, that created this freedom to trust myself again, to reconnect with those parts.
Follow-up question. Were you in one role and you had that experience and you flipped and had a whole new direction?
Can you clarify that question?
Were you living, like, I'm thinking pre-HD and post-HD?
Okay.
Was there a pre-HD where you were living in a place and then just had this hit, and then all of a sudden it was like, boom, no, there's business a different way here.
Yes and no. So yes, before it was definitely me trying to force and control everything, right? Me trying to push offers out there. I would just create and put it, and I'm very good at being busy without actually being effective. And that's kind of what it was before. And then finding human design and learning how to reconnect to that trust, what my soul was calling for was for me to walk away at the time. And it was so hard to listen to that, but I just kept feeling like I'm not getting joy in any of this. I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. And finally trusting that and putting it down, not doing a thing with it. And the energetic shift and the synchronicities and the why I needed to put it down was not what I thought it was. But all of that happened after I listened to what was in here, after I listened to source, after I connected to that part, which came from knowing my human design, is what brought me to where I am today.
Awesome. Laura, I'm coming your way. Same question. What helped you differentiate between who you thought you had to be and who you actually are?
Chest pains. So body awareness, a lifelong practice of awareness helped me get here. And at one point I sucked at it, and I got to the point of chest pain. And I had one day, I was staring out the window thinking to myself, holy crap, I'm going to leave my kids too early if I'm not careful. And so I just had, thank goodness it was just a little chest pain, right? Because, yeah. So I listened before it was a scream, before I had to be taken away in an ambulance because I had a heart attack, right? But body awareness and everything I've learned in my 30-year career as a holistic physical therapist, because that's what I did first before I started publishing, has brought me into this beautiful place of really knowing my awareness, mental, physical, emotional. And I love practicing, I call them my ninja moves of awareness and mindset, because it's always what pushes me back onto the track. I love what you said earlier. Are you attracting spam? So what a great question for law of attraction fans, right? Like, so if you're in your life attracting chest pain, like, if you're attracting spam, like, time to take a breath and pause a minute. Like, are you even paying attention to what is going on here, right?
Right.
So we all have this beautiful, powerful GPS system, and sometimes it takes some of us a lifetime to learn it well. And I finally learned it well, and I feel like now I get to push the gas pedal with that as the foundation. And I'm a race car driver now. Because I know how to control this baby and what to listen for and how to feel that hum in the steering wheel and how to, right? Like, yeah, it gets exciting when you are really paying attention like that.
Yeah, I would agree. I would totally agree. I laughed when you said chest pains. All joking aside, though.
Yeah.
It's real.
It wasn't a joke.
No.
It was real physical manifestation of stress and anxiety. It was a manifestation of a decision I was procrastinating on making that I thought would hurt my kids. I asked for the divorce, y'all. So, and at that point it was like, the universe was really telling me that it was time to make the decision, or understand that there was going to be some consequences that I did not want.
Follow-up question, kind of, why would you bring your divorce into? I'm going to play the devil's advocate. I don't give a shit about what's going on at home, Laura. I could give a shit. You need to show up.
Nah, like if you're not taking care of all the pieces of your pie, the other pieces will suffer.
Mhm.
This is about integration when I'm talking about awareness. And if you are ignoring one slice, guess how that's going to affect all the other slices next to it. It is going to. It's going to seep into every other thing you do, even if the other pieces are fabulous and blissful. I love what Irene said about the bliss feeling is the trust. Like, yes, now I trust that message, the feeling, the message, the nudge, the alignment. I feel what it is. I've learned the language. And that is the feeling of bliss. Why do all those parts matter? Because you can't have one part off like that, attracting spam, and not affect all the other awesome things you're trying to do in the world. It's impossible to separate. Plus, I don't work, by the way. I mean, I love my life. My work is part of my life. There is no work, whatever balance. That's a myth, y'all. Like, you either love what you're doing and it's part of who you are and you're being yourself every day when you show up, and that is the vibe that you're showing up with. If you feel like you have to have a vacation from your work, that is the feeling I think you were talking about when we started the show today, is of misery that people are feeling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I have to do this. There's
Yeah.
no other options.
Listen, we're really lucky that the four of us can sit here and talk like this. There are some people in
Absolutely.
situations who
Let's
are
have
trying to
some.
survive and make a buck and pay the mortgage and feed their kids. So let's be grateful we can even have a discussion about having a choice. But the awareness piece, no matter who you are or what situation you're in, is a key and will lead you to the next best thing if you can trust that, learn to listen to it, all the things.
Yeah. 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 Thank you. I had a moment of, well, this all must be nice to sit around and talk about, right? It must be nice to have a decision point where you can, there are folks that there's some chaos going on, and yeah, and even more reason to hold community like this, and to yeah, open up the space and open up the rooms to be talking about who am I in all of this. It seems a little daunting, but there's a lot of us that are jazzed about the opportunity, as uncomfortable as that might feel at first. Um, Chikanma, I want to talk to you about, you had a very specific transition where you said, I'm done with corporate, I'm going to go out on my own. Who you thought you had to be, you were specifically burnt out. You said, I'm not going to do this anymore, and become who you actually are from your heart-centered self. So you were, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but helping build a business around somebody else's idea of success.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where did you know that it wasn't you? Like, was it the beginning where you're like, I don't know, or did it slowly talk to me
Ah,
about that
I don't.
transition?
It's almost like the chicken or the egg. What came first? Did I always know? Like retroactively, did I always know, or was it a turning point? But I feel like my story began with burnout, and for me, I love what Laura said about chest pain, the physical chronic issues, mysterious illnesses, things like that, where you're sick, but there's nothing wrong with you, right? And it's the accumulation of stress, cortisol, your body telling you that, hey, something is going on. And for me, like I was completely delusional. Like I had a call from my doctor about like, oh, are you sure you haven't fainted? There's no reason for you to actually not be in the ER right now. And I just went back to work. Just went back to my corporate job because I felt fine, right? And then the psychological, the mental burnout came next. And that was really what put the nail in the coffin for me, right? And so for me, it was about, I thought I could prolong the alignment. I thought I could stay in the future and push for that future version of me. But I I kind of prioritize the future and sacrifice my current self, my current life, and my current physical present self, right? And that was not good, right? I think alignment is hard because we think that we can postpone our alignment for, we'll do that next year, we'll do that in 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, and time just kind of keeps passing you by. You're not aware that by being in misalignment for that long, your body, your time, something is going to fight back. And you either go willingly or go dragging, kicking and screaming into alignment. And it's not something that you can postpone or schedule or anything like that. I think alignment is something that you need to be intentional about. I think you need to prioritize yourself in the current now, right? I view myself as someone that's a very high achiever. I was I was happy to be doing things that would take 3 years of doing it in one. I was happy to be like overexerting and kind of defying the odds and, breaking those boundaries, right? And pushing myself past the limits. I thought that was normal. And then I realized, who is this for, right? I was doing someone else's job. I was doing someone else's dream. And when do I get to get my dream? I love what you guys mentioned about, the privilege of it. Like, I didn't realize that I'd already met the thriving mark where I could like let go and like release all that like surviving, energy. But I was so focused on going to that next milestone, going to that next goal, you don't even take time to reassess or like see where you are right now. And that could be an issue because you're going at 110%, but you could be at 50, right? So what's the need? Who are you trying to prove that to? And for me, it was about rediscovering who I was, rediscovering what it looks like to do something in a sustainable way, with a you-centered way, with prioritizing my body, my health, my wellness right now versus sacrificing that for just one extra hour of work. Ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to insert a little of my own story just for the effect of cycle breaking, and that is that it took me I don't know how many times I ramped up under the concept of supporting someone else's business, ramped up in every way, and for me that is rooted in people pleasing and perfectionism, and I can accomplish incredible levels of productivity across a lot of different things. And so that made me really, dangerous, right? In terms of who I could be on a team. Well, I'd ramp right up and then I'd find myself resentful because it was somebody else's goals, sad because it wasn't my own, mad because nobody gave a shit as much as I did. And I'd burn the whole thing down and I'd start out on my own again. And I'd say, no, this is not going to be this way this time. And I did that in my 20s a couple times. And I did that in my 30s a couple more times. And my 40s. My point is, I'm here now in alignment more than I've ever been, speaking to women and humans who are working on being alignment. I'm not attracting spam. This is what I'm attracting. This is the level that I'm attracting. And so my point in that is to never give up, right? Like, it can be a blip. People have near death experiences. They lose everything. They have rock bottoms. They have jolts and moments of impact that completely put them in other directions. And then there's folks that bump along and try and figure it out, and maybe they never do. But the point of it is that you are the common denominator in all of it, and that the work really starts right at the common denominator. So I wanted to just insert that in before I take another another stab at a question. I want to know from each of you, kind of as a final before we start to land this plane. Talk to me about a couple of non-negotiable values in your business, in your life, in your work, that you operate with. Talk to me about the lens that you lay over everything you do. Chikanma, you want to talk first?
Yeah, that's good. I think for me, it used to be a lot of action, action, action. Um, Even if it didn't make sense for my wellness, right? I told a friend, like, I was drinking Red Bull like twice a day just to get the extra boost of energy or whatever. Um, Drinking two Red Bulls a day for like, I don't know, span that out 30, 50 years is not a good idea, right? So what am I sacrificing for almost marginal returns, right? I think my non-negotiable is, prioritizing my health, my wellness. I'm prioritizing my current body and my current experience and honestly living life, right? Like I think there's what was it? YOLO, you only live once. That's cool and all, but my approach is more like this live life out loud. Like live life as if this is the only not to let a day pass as if like, oh, I'm going to give this day up for someone else and someone else's dreams and someone else's goal. I'm going to live this life for me, right? And that can be very hard to say as a woman because you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to live your life for your kids and your family and everyone else but you. You're supposed to come like somewhere like third or last place and to be almost selfish and be okay with saying that I am selfish, right? Because men get to be selfish. And I think it's only fair that you as a woman get to be selfish too. And I think it's only human to say, let me just spend a little bit more time with myself. Yes, there's so many things that we can do for the world and we can definitely get there. Like I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying before you go and try to save the world, maybe save yourself, maybe give yourself, 30 minutes, an hour 2 hours, right? And dedicate it to yourself, your wellness, and your health, whatever that looks like. Yoga, Pilates, just a walk. Maybe just like go out and sit in grass for like an hour and just look at the sky. Whatever that means for you, I think that's a non-negotiable for me because I spent too much time doing everything but that. And I learned the consequences, thankfully, very quickly, but it had to hit me over the head several times. I should have learned that lesson 3 years ago, 2 years ago, maybe even six, if I'm being honest. Um, but when I finally opened my eyes and saw that none of these productivity goals, none of these dreams, none of these ideas or concepts really matter if I don't exist, right, to see them, that was really what really changed things for me. That's what really, you know, moved the needle for me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Love it. Irene, your non-negotiables for.
What's interesting is as I'm listening to Chikanma and thinking about the question, I think the more you embody that alignment, it just becomes what you do. And I'm like, what are my values, right? Because you just started like living them. And I think for me, it's just staying tuned into me, right? So what I do may be different. Like sometimes, yes, I'm on the treadmill. Sometimes I'm sleeping in that extra hour in the morning, but I'm noticing that, oh, I'm getting frustrated much easier these days. Or, wow, I'm really diving into that chocolate. You know what it's like? I'm just starting to notice, like, rather than, oh, my kids are just not behaving, or, nobody's here to support me. I'm like, have I been supporting myself lately? So I think the non-negotiable for me is staying checked in with me and always looking inward, right? Looking inward for those answers and allowing what that is to be. One of mine right now is like, shutting my computer off at 5. I used to like bleed into everything that I would do. And now I'm like, even though even last night I had a ton to do, I'm like, nope, shutting it down. Because I know that like just having that time is so beneficial to me. So I guess my non-negotiable is just staying tuned into me and noticing what that is. And if sometimes that looks like just announcing to the family, like, yeah, I'm not making dinner tonight. Like, I just don't feel like it. And it comes together, right? Some, steps up or we order something, but just allowing that to be okay, as Chikanma said, like allowing that selfishness. It's like the me for the we. I can't show up for my family. I can't show up for my clients. I can't show up for anything if I'm not showing up for me first.
The me for the we. I like that. That's clever. I might have to hashtag that one. Laura, we have bumped along to you. Mic is yours.
Well, these gals are making this easy for me. And I'll repeat it because it bears repeating. Physical and mental health and self-care has to be your first thing. And it's for all the reasons the gals have already said. Second, and that awareness gets you there. So awareness is always at the top of my list of, I don't know if it's a value or just priority practice, right? And then, Irene said it, it's the alignment, knowing what feels good to me. And then thirdly, it's creating and practicing the boundaries that allow me to wake up every morning and stay in the things I already talked about. So, and the boundaries might be the hardest piece. If you're a people pleaser, if back to being a woman, back to the shoulds and supposed tos that we were taught over a lifetime of models who did not prioritize their own health and then got sick and died early because of it. I mean, so when you think about setting boundaries that are going against cultural norms, this is no easy road here. We're trailblazing something very different, and our maybe mothers and grandmothers are looking at us and going, oh, who are you to? And I got to stand and look at my mother and say, I'm doing big world changing work in the world. I'm doing it different than you, Mom. And if I don't take care, right, if I don't set that boundary for myself, there will be no world changing work. And it's all the things that Chikanma already said too. Like it ain't going to happen if I don't take care of myself. But boy, I'm not telling you that conversations like that with Mom are easy. And holding boundaries with the people who know me the best, my inner circle, family, friends who've known me for X amount of years, and all of that people pleasing stuff I used to do. Like, you shift, they see the new you need boundary, right? And you don't want to give that up. So you're not going to give that up. You're going to practice. It's not easy, but it's doable. It gets better. And then we get right back to that feeling of that trust in the universe and that bliss and that beautiful, beautiful life you get to live because you're trusting that. It's a journey. We're all on it. I love being here, playing in the sandbox with people who get this and can talk about it.
Yeah, what resonates with what you just said, it makes me think of there are rules that I have to break. I have to break my grandpa's rules. I make him so nervous with he hasn't been around for years. But I know I'm making him nervous doing these crazy things, right? Because we have this pull to be change agents, to be in alignment. Change is part of our alignment. I think it's, those of us that change invigorates us. It tells us there's more potential there. There's something there. It tickles, right? I used to think that some of I used to label it all anxiety, right? Just flash anxiety. If I was feeling something in my chest, I just called it anxiety, and I was broken, and I'm not supposed to be here, and I'm a mess. I'm an emotional mess. I'm just too much, right? Now it's the distinction of that. I think if there's a non-negotiable for me, it's the stop and let the emotions come in from all of the outer inputs that are coming at me, whether it's how to do my business or how not to do my business or everything in between, right? Is that when something comes in, that it's data for me to examine and to take my time examining it to make sure that when I make a decision based on the data that I've got in my hand, it's one that I feel really good about. Sometimes that has to happen on a flash, and I'm working on that. That's not something that I can do immediately, just to be able, I want to get to the point where it's just a no thanks. I want to. I'm working on it every day, and I'm coming up against new pressures, right? New things that say, "Who are you, Natalie?" And I say, "Data, data. This is who I am," right? It's that pause. That's my non-negotiable now, is that pause. Shoot, I used to go too fast. Slow down, right? A minute for closing thoughts from each of you. I'd love to just hear, Laura's a note taker. She's always taking notes. I want to hear just what's bubbled up for you here in the room that you're going to leave with, because we're learning from each other. We're in the space where others are listening in, but we're thinking out loud, and we're thinking this is just, there's 4 of us here, but there's all kinds of folks around. Last thoughts. I'm going to start with Laura.
You brought it up in me, and I think it's important. And if you were like me and Natalie, and you had, right, like if you're the note taker, but the thing is you need it in front of your face as a reminder every day. You're on this journey of getting to know yourself. You're knowing your values and what makes you feel aligned. I actually put it in front of my face every day, not trying to remember it and keep it all up in this head of mine, but journaling it out, making pretty manifestos that are on my desk that remind me of those boundaries and things that I want to remember. Because when we're in the chaos of life, that quickness you were talking about, that's a master skill. You will get there, but on your way there, you need help. And so the very simple thing I love to do that I hope everybody will start to do is, my sticky notes are hot pink, man. And they're going on the mirror in the bathroom, and they're going on the refrigerator, and they're on my desk, and they're over there on the wall. And it's like, everything is attraction. Who are you being today, right now, with these beautiful people on Zoom? Whatever you do next, everything is attraction. So who do I want to be when I show up in any moment I choose? That's a big responsibility, and it is ultimate freedom. I'll leave it there.
Yeah. Hard stop. Chikanma.
Oh, this is so
Last
good.
thoughts.
I love what Irene said, going off the selfishness, and I think the cultural norms, I think Laura brought that up. I think the cultural norm is for women to be selfless, and we can sometimes misconstrue that as um, the the minimum, right? To sacrifice yourself for others. And I think we've all been hit over the head with the same, like, take care of yourself, and meditate and do all these things. We've seen all this, like, quick tips on what to do in order to, like, get out of just the not knowing into self-awareness. And self-awareness is fantastic, but I think in order to break that cycle and to really go for the next level and reach that next level it takes action, it takes accountability, which is two very short words, but that's years okay, to get there. And I think, even with the action piece of it, it's like I have 5,000 things I could do. There's a to-do list every day and it just grows and grows and grows. So what's the action that's actually gonna move the needle? What's the action that's actually gonna make a difference? What's the action I should actually focus on? and who's going to hold you accountable to it? You know, for
Mhm.
me, when I was experiencing that burnout, I'm so grateful for the community and the friends I had. And I think everyone needs to have that. You need to be more intentional with getting there and, you know, becoming not just their own lone wolf, but knowing the systems, the protocols, the routines, and developing their own productivity toolkit, their self-care toolkit, their own toolkit for Chikanma, for Laura, for Irene, for Natalie, right? What's in your individual toolkit that's going to help you live this life that you want? Live the life of your dreams, not just the life that people told you to live. And I think that takes time, that takes, you know, self-awareness, it takes action, it takes accountability, and it takes conversations like this. So
Mhm.
I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah, me too. Irene, final thoughts you want to share?
Yes, I'm loving all of this. And for me, it's coming back to that pain in your life, whether physical pain, chest pain, or burnout or unhappiness is just information, right? Rather than define it as your circumstances that you actually have no change or you can't control or you have no input on, recognizing that that is just information and you get to
Mhm.
choose again tomorrow. You get to choose again in the next 5 minutes, right? With where you're going. And it's being intentional with that. So when you're looking at boundaries, I mean, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, my mom asked me to do something and I had told her like 2 weeks before it would help her. But it was being intentional. It was like, oh, I really don't want to do this, but I told her. And so what that tells me is I need to set a boundary next time of, let me know the day before that you're going to need this help rather than the morning of, so I can plan for it. And it's just noticing in every moment where it feels off. And that comes with time as you learn to tune in and tune in and tune in. You're going to be able to say, like you said, Natalie, when those emotions come up, you're like, what is this for me? Like, where is this coming from versus I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm this, I'm that. It's like, ooh, I'm feeling this. Where is it coming from? And just using that as information to course correct, to course correct, to course correct. And as you take those little steps to course correct, you're changing the outcome in a week, in a month, in 3 months, in a year. So it's not looking at where somebody is on their journey here and getting so discouraged that you're not there. It's in every moment being present to that moment and saying, what is the choice I can make right now that feels right to me? And making that choice and then making it again and making it again and
Mhm.
making it again.
Mhm. Yeah, beautiful, beautifully said. I'm struck with a few things just to wrap this. Awareness is the booby prize. I had an old mentor who used to say that to me. She'd say, "What are you going to do with it now?" And no action is action. You need to own that. You need to own that non-action, right? Intention is, man, it's a big word, and it sets the tone. It requires you to stay present. It really does. It requires you to really think about every step you're taking and the intent you have behind that step. And then finally, I'm encouraged just that, these are the conversations, in days of old, these types of conversations happened, I don't know, in like what if they let us talk about this kind of stuff at work? What if they like let us do what we really want to do? And like, what if we change stuff up? Right. And so like there were these days where this kind of stuff was like scandalous. Woo. And now we're like human design and like, no more burnout and brave healing words that are changing the world. It's just, we've come a long way, and there's so much opportunity, and there are spaces that will encourage the opportunity in front of you, and find those spaces, right? These three women in front of me are a beautiful starting point for finding the space that feels in alignment with what you're trying to do in this big, crazy, beautiful world of opportunity. I'm going to put everybody's links in the show notes, of course, because who would I be as a host if I didn't do that? Big thanks to every one of today's guests. You've taken time out of busy days. I want everybody to go soak up their brilliance, their magic, their medicine. So visit Laura, Irene, Chikanma. I'll be hosting more of these raw, spirit-led conversations as my own business continues to evolve in ways that I never could have imagined, that I never could have strategized. So stay tuned. And if this stirred something in you, I'd love you to follow along or subscribe to stay close. I appreciate everyone thinking out loud with me today, especially the three beautiful women sitting in front of me. Over and out for now. We'll see you next time.